Well, good morning, everyone. It's meteorologist Taylor Stephenson with 13 News Now, here with your more in-depth with weather using our Weather Plus platform. Now, thank you everybody so much for joining me this morning. We have a couple of topics, a couple of them actually a little bit different than what you might expect. One international, one more about the cold and the heat and your heating bills. And then also we're going to dive into some snow that fell across the mid-Atlantic. So for the first topic, we're going to talk more about the flooding in Malaysia. It has been wreaking havoc across parts of the country, and we'll talk more about its impacts coming up in just a few minutes. Now, cold weather obviously leading to higher heat bills. That is one thing we are learning about, or we'll learn about today, and how to maintain your heat bill so that you are not stuck with those higher bills to pay during the winter time. And then today we had snow in North Carolina. I'll tell you where that was, and it's cold everywhere else. I'll talk more about the potential relief on the way coming up in a few minutes. The first thing we'll talk about is Malaysia. The flooding that's happening across the world from us at this point. Now, for those who don't know where Malaysia is, we are in the U.S. Malaysia is all the way over in the Pacific Ocean as you get into Asia. Now, there has been horrific flooding. ABC has more on the details of what's happening over in the country.
Dalam pukul 3 pagi tu saya dah terbang daripada tidur dan cuba alih kereta lah. Ingatkan air tak naik. Tiba-tiba dalam pukul 5 kena tu air terus naik. Tak berhenti-henti. Jadi sempat ambil barang yang ada kat bawah je lah. Air terus naik dengan tinggi.
Makcik nak cari nak beli 30-40 ribu, makcik tak ada nak makan lol ni tu boleh. Aku nak cari cemak tu tak ada. Untuk makan tak ada lah sipas 10 5 sen. Kalau nak pulih hak ni, kalau tak ada hak orang tolong molek tak boleh, makcik nak ambil kenderaan mana 30-40 ribu.
So as you see, lots of destruction and people in Malaysia wondering where are they going to get the money to do all of these repairs. Now, according to the Associated Press, around 30 people have died from this extreme flooding in Malaysia, but there's hundreds, even thousands of people who are displaced from all the flooding in Malaysia, as you saw with those residents there. So we are thinking about our friends over in Malaysia as they deal with the flooding. Now, bringing it back a little bit more close to home, we are dealing with a lot of cold air. Running up that heat bill can be a big issue. And one of the places we are seeing some of the coldest weather is here in parts of North Carolina and central to southern and southeastern Virginia. So let's talk a little bit more about how you can save money this winter by dialing back on that thermostat.
This morning, a wintry blast slamming the Great Lakes region with more than 5 feet of snow in some areas, shutting down roads. A nearly 20-vehicle pileup here on I-94 in Michigan. Temps in the teens in the Midwest, as even the South is now bracing for record lows. The cold, a shock to our bodies, but also our budgets.
Families are struggling now with high food prices, high rent prices, and now they're struggling with high home energy prices as well.
Electric heat costs nationwide are expected to rise more than 13% this winter compared to last season. But prices in the West could be more than 20% higher because of recent wildfire damage to the electric grid. Propane and natural gas will see similar increases this winter, both around 7%. Oil customers get somewhat of a break this season, but prices still 6% higher. With more Americans falling behind on their bills, there is help from nonprofits.
We help anyone in the city of Philadelphia to apply for the different grants that are available. This service is a lifesaver.
Like this one in the Philadelphia area, and from federal programs which offer cash grants, like the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program.
What tips would you have on trying to save? It's inevitable that we have to turn our heaters on when the weather dips.
Exactly.
How can we save money?
First, have your furnace tuned up. Have the furnace filter replaced. The furnace will work better and use less energy to produce heat. Second, close the flue on your fireplace. If it's open, heat just goes straight out of your house. And third, turn down the thermostat. Every 1 degree you turn it down at night, you can save up to 1% on your bill.
To save money, the Energy Department recommends keeping your thermostat between 68 and 70 during the day and cooler at night. Also caulking any cracks in your home to keep the warm air in and the cold air out. Lionel Moise, ABC News, New York.
And again, using that thermostat, turning it down will always be one of the best options to do so when we are talking about how to save energy. Now, you may not want to be like me. I keep my house around 68 degrees. That can be a little cold, but definitely trying to make sure you're saving money in that sense. And I'm sure people in North Carolina they're really trying to save all of the money they can with the fact that they saw some snow this morning in places like Central Carolina. And that leads me to my next point. We are going to talk more about our third topic now, and that is going to be the cold weather that is here to stay across the area. We're talking snow in North Carolina, cold air all across the East Coast. And again, with that snow in Carolina, we saw it over all the way in Raleigh, where some places did get a few flurries in the mix. Now, let's talk a little bit more about how these different types of precipitation even form. First, we are talking rain. Now, rain forms when you have the cold air aloft or at the top of the atmosphere, and then you have a huge layer of warm air between the top of the atmosphere to the bottom, to the surface. As these little pellets, the snowflakes or the ice fall through that warm layer, they melt and come down as rain. Now, the next type of precip we're going to talk about is freezing rain. Now, with freezing rain, you have a cold air layer at the top, a big warm air layer in between the top and the bottom, and then right there near the surface, we have freezing temperatures. So what happens is that it falls as rain, but because surfaces like cars or the roads can be at 32 degrees or lower, the rain freezes on contact, and that's how you get freezing rain. The third one, you have sleet. Now, sleet has a much shallower layer of warm air in the middle of the atmosphere. You get the cold air at top, melts in that warm layer, and then starts to refreeze before it hits the ground, so you get those little ice pellets that do hit the ground in the form of sleet. And lastly, for all of my snow lovers, if you're the type of people who want to see snow here across parts of the East Coast, you have to have the entire atmosphere be at 32 degrees or below for that to happen. Now, what's the likelihood of us even seeing snow at this point? Well, the oceanographers believe that we are forecast to enter a La Nina. Now, in a La Nina year, in a weak one, we have an average of about 5.5 inches of snowfall, right around there. In a moderate La Nina, that chance of snow goes up, or the average goes up, of about 7 inches of snow in that given winter. Now, let's take a look at the past La Ninas we've had here in Norfolk and Hampton Roads. And as you see, during a weak La Nina, the only time we did not see snow is last winter when we had, or 2 winters ago, excuse me, where we had the 2022-2023 season where we did not have any snow in the picture. Every other year from 1954 all the way to 2018, we did have snow. Now, during a moderate La Nina, we had less of those winters, but in every single moderate La Nina year, starting all the way back in the 1955 through 2022, every single moderate La Nina year produced snowfall. So if you're the type of people who want this, the team snow, you are betting on our La Nina to come into full swing by the end of the month. Now, let's talk about the cold air, because even though we aren't seeing a lot of snowfall, we are seeing cold air everywhere. Like we saw in that ABC story earlier, places like Asheville, North Carolina, 15 degrees for morning lows. For us here in parts of central to eastern Virginia, I saw temperatures drop as far as 18 degrees this morning. So very, very cold weather. Now, for today, we are talking temperatures right now in the lower 30s to upper 30s at the moment. The orange colors are going to be your actual air temperature. The blue, that is going to be the wind chill, which is a form of feels-like temperatures that you find during the winter time when you add on cold air plus a breeze. So right now we are talking some of those current wind chills anywhere from about the middle 20s in Williamsburg to the lower 30s all the way into Norfolk. So a very, very cold start to the day for us here for our Tuesday. Throughout our area, though, we are seeing a lot more sunshine. We had cloud cover earlier. That's starting to move out to sea. Cold high pressures in place, and what that will do is reinforce the fact that we do have cold air in place, bringing us a north wind that will pull in that cooler, drier air. But it also will reinforce the sunshine we have. So as you see, seeing a lot more sunshine than earlier this morning. But the one thing about the cloud cover that did help overnight is that it prevented us from having frost. Now, when you get frost, you need to have clear skies and cold temperatures. So when that cloud cover moved in, it prevented that. Could we see frost tonight here across the mid-Atlantic? It's possible, especially because we are predicting clear skies and temperatures back into those 20s and 30s. But again, nothing like they saw in Raleigh this morning with a few snow flurries to the south and west of the city. So for the rest of the day, this is how you should prepare for your Tuesday if you're thinking about heading out the door soon. Temperatures again in those 30s, feeling more like the 20s. So bundle up. But by the afternoon, we'll be back into the upper 30s to lower 40s. Highs today will be a couple degrees warmer than where we sat yesterday in those lower to middle 40s, but we still will have that breeze. Winds today up to 15 miles an hour. We could have an isolated gust or two up to 20. A few bay streamers are possible when you get that north wind moving over the warmer water of the bay. You could get a few isolated showers, maybe even a snow flurry like we saw it this morning, but looking like most of that rain and precip will stay well offshore for us for today. So mainly dry, but then we add on that wind, and throughout the day today, it will feel more like freezing or just above in the lower to upper 30s. So the heavy coat, scarf, hat, all your best friend as we get throughout your Tuesday. Now, the good news about today is that it's not going to be as choppy on the waters. We had a small craft advisory in place for the bay yesterday. Today, not so much, but the Chesapeake Bay is very cold. Temperatures in those middle 40s for the actual water temperatures. Winds today, northwest, 15 knots, gusts up to 20 knots. Same relatively for the Atlantic Ocean, except the fact that we could see some wind gusts up to about 25 knots. Waves in the bay today up to 3 feet, with seas in the ocean at about 5 feet. Now, high tide today is in about 45 minutes, around 10:09, with low tide today around 4:38. So good news if you're heading out on the water to fish, if you're heading out to just enjoy some time on the boat, you won't be as choppy with those waters, but that actually picks up as we get into your mid to late week, as a clipper system will be in the forecast, bringing us very gusty winds, where a gale watch is in effect from Wednesday evening through Thursday evening of this week. Let's talk more about what to expect for tomorrow before I get into that next system. Tomorrow we are talking another cold start. Temperatures in the lower to middle 30s. We'll have clear skies in the morning and throughout the majority of the day. Tomorrow will be a touch warmer than where we were sitting as we get into your Wednesday afternoon. A few degrees warmer than Tuesday, with highs in the upper 40s, and then we'll start to taper down, of course, after sunset. But it's, again, Thursday into Friday where we have big changes coming. Very windy on Thursday, and then we have a next push of colder air after a brief warm up every single day from Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Get a cold front, and that cold front humbles us. Temperatures will plummet back down into the 40s. So we have this clipper system. We have a cold front that will drape through the area. Now you see those yellow lines. The closer they are together, means two things. One, that means that the closer they are together, the stronger the system is. Two, it also means that it will be very windy. So with this low pressure system to our north, snow to our north and west, we won't get any of that. We actually won't really get any rain either from the system. It's just going to be wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour by Thursday afternoon. And then we get our push of cold air behind that system, where Friday we drop about 10 to 15 degrees from Thursday afternoon. So a very, very chilly way to end the week. But the good news is, if you are afraid that we are going to be in this pattern for a long time, do not fret. Our 8 to 14 day outlook, that ranges from December 11th through December the 17th, it looks like we'll be above average. And the long range models even show temperatures pushing into the middle 60s by early next week. That's ahead of our second system of the next 7 days that will bring us some pretty good rainfall for the beginning of the work week on Monday and into Tuesday, but it also will give us that push of warmer air along that system. Any rain that we can squeeze out between now and the next 7 days will be super beneficial. Now, our drought monitor does update on Thursdays, so we'll get a new picture of what our dry conditions look like across the mid-Atlantic into Thursday. But for now, we are seeing abnormally dry conditions for the western portions of the viewing area. We are talking a moderate drought on the eastern side, and then up into the peninsulas, a severe drought. So again, the rain that we are expecting for Monday and Tuesday will definitely help with that, but that will be after Thursday's update. So we may see a little bit of this dry patch starting to build back in again for parts of our area, but then the rain coming downstream will help that even further. So that's the good news with this system that will be coming through early next week. Now, we aren't the only ones seeing the drought. A lot of the U.S. could use some rain. The majority of the country underneath some type of dry conditions. Even in the parts of the Northeast, we are seeing some areas of extreme drought where we could desperately use the rain and snowfall. And that's what we'll see coming through the end of this week and again into early next week as well. Now, for here in Norfolk and the Mid-Atlantic, we are talking cold weather. Temperatures in the lower to middle 40s for your Tuesday afternoon, rising into the upper 40s with a lot of sunshine starting tomorrow, back into the low 50s. But put this in perspective, our normal high temperature is 57 degrees. So that means that we'll stay below normal from now through the first parts of the weekend. Lots of sunshine, but again on Thursday, remember, breezy, even starting Wednesday night, wind gusts as high as about 30 miles per hour. Thursday afternoon, 40 miles per hour. We take that dip behind that cold front to the lower 40s on Friday afternoon, but it's after a cold start with temperatures around the coast in the upper 20s. Inland, we're talking the possibilities of teens once again. And then we add on the potential for some higher breezes. We may have some very cold wind chills on Friday morning. Getting into the rest of the 7-day forecast, we take a huge climb back up above normal, finally, after a stretch of below normal temperatures for the past few days and even into the rest of this work week. Temperatures will be back into the lower to middle 50s by Sunday. We pick up our rain chances early on Monday into Tuesday as well, where we'll have scattered showers possible on both Monday and Tuesday of next week, and highs will be back in the 60s. So much more mild getting into next week. Now, if you enjoyed this stream, you can definitely follow me on Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. I talk a lot about weather, personal life, anything that you want to know about weather, I have it for you. On Facebook, I'm Meteorologist Taylor Stephenson. On Instagram and TikTok, I'm TD Stars, TDSTARZ. That's my name on those platforms, and you can follow me at any time on any of those social media websites. Now, if you like the Weather Plus stream, we do it every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. We go into depth about local weather, national weather, and worldwide weather, like we talked about earlier with Malaysia. Now, you can download the 13 News Now Plus app for your Roku, Amazon, or Fire TV. This app is completely free. We go into depth about weather. We also have exclusive news stories that you can watch on your own time whenever you want to. If you prefer it to be on your phone, we have the 13 News Now app that's also free on the App Store and on Google Play. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll be back tomorrow with more for weather here in the U.S. and around the world.